So you see him, congratulate him, and we'll get this to him later. I call to order the Bethany City Council meeting for Tuesday, July 17th, 2018. Would you please rise for the invocation and the flag salute? Mr. Todd, would you lead us in the flag salute, please?
Attention, salute, I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Arlita, will you lead us in prayer?
Precious Father, we want to thank you for bringing us together tonight. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to serve our community. And Lord, we pray for wisdom as we make decisions this evening. We pray that you'll watch over our people, those who work with us and those who work for our community, and give your blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Item 1 tonight is the consent docket A through F. Do I have a motion or any questions?
I have something on the bills that we have, and let me get my little thing going here. It's on the claims form, and it has to do with a claim by, I believe it was 99 Gold something or other.
99 Designs.
99 Design.
Okay, that one is one that I authorized for our new logo. We're trying to design logos and maybe even the city seal, and I was actually going to bring that up tonight. It's a contest that is open to, it's on the internet, and you put it out there that you're asking for help in designing something, and you give the parameters for it. And there are 3 different levels of the award, and there's the silver, which is $4.99, the bronze, which is $7.99, and the gold, which is a $999 award for whoever gives the best logo or design, and that's what that's for.
Well, I didn't look at it that way. I looked at it that we paid somebody to find somebody to put this out, and they lived in Australia.
You have quite an imagination, sir.
No, I don't. I mean, I looked at the claim, and it said someplace in Australia.
It's like a contest where you put it out there and all these designers send their design in of whatever you're wanting a logo for. Whoever ends up winning it, which is who the council would pick, which one we like, that person would win that award. But we also, or that money, we can also go in and make changes to that, and then they have to finalize it. So it's essentially a contest. All these designers are competing for that money so that we get the best design we possibly can for a logo.
I thought about probably 2 months ago, we had some design logos come out that were little round things that had little feathers in them. We used to call them something or other.
Well, what I understand is that there was a branding and logo committee that was convened sometime maybe about a year ago, and they spent quite a bit of time trying to develop the concept behind what they wanted to go in a seal and a logo, and they ask a lot of questions of the community. So what we were able to do was to utilize that information that they had gathered during that time frame, and that's what we put some of that as the parameters for this contest. There were 2 logos that did come out of that committee, and I passed them around to the council, and everyone decided that we wanted to continue working until we got a logo that we were happy with, and that's what you were seeing. I'm sure you were recalling the email that I sent to you. It had a link in it where you clicked on it, and it took you to the 2 designs. And so we just decided that we needed to press a little harder and to work on this a little bit longer to get a design that more reflected, I think, what we're looking for.
But you said something that it's going to be an $800 prize.
They're usually about $5,000 by the time you pay a designer for all their hours and all of the meetings that you have and that kind of thing. And this is why I decided to go this route, is because an $800 prize for all the hours that someone would spend designing these is a real bargain, because we get the opportunity to be interactive and to say, we don't like this here, or we'd rather you use that. And so we actually get to be part of the creative process in this.
And it doesn't necessarily,
Well,
'cause-
I think this should have been brought up before the city council, before this went out to Australia. 'Cause I was absolutely floored when I saw the invoice.
well, a lot of cities are, if you'll look around and notice, a lot of cities have like a new modern-looking logo,
Oh,
like
yeah.
Norman and everybody. But it's not to take away from our city seal. Our city seal is the city seal. There's some things that need to change, but we need something else, a logo, and the task force had been working for over a year, so we took that information and then decided, let's send this out and see what people come back with as far as a design, and then council gets to start looking at them and deciding what they do and don't like.
Yeah, it had been a subject that had been brought up to me numerous times, that we need to look at a redesign of of our city seal, but also in the various departments, that the only thing we really have right now is the city seal, and it's so outdated with things that are on there that we are having lawsuits regarding and other issues, and so we felt like that we needed to have at least something that the departments could utilize on our materials.
The only thing I can see that's on there, on that logo, is the airplane, and I know we got a lawsuit with them.
And
So is this what we're talking about? I don't think so.
yes, it is, and it actually is. And I'm so sorry, I should have asked you to come and visit with me about this prior to it,
Well, I didn't-
so
I
that
didn't
we
get
could.
turned on till yesterday morning.
Yes,
then I had to try to get on to, what do you call it, laserfish?
Laserfish.
And laserfish.
Good
is-
luck with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what
Yeah,
the problems are with
I'm not the
that.
village idiot when it comes to accounting, and I know a little bit, and I can't work laserfish. That's another thing that I had wanting to talk about.
Okay.
But I've also got something else. We have a $2,100 share a ticket.
Okay, that is something that will be coming out in the utility newsletter. And it's brand new information to me, but apparently the city of Bethany helps subsidize tickets for people that need rides to places, and they don't have the income to support that. And it's a transportation that is in War Acres, Oklahoma City, and Bethany.
Is it this Embark or whatever that is in Oklahoma City?
Embark? Is it
Embark.
Embark.
Yeah.
And it just helps subsidize them so that they go into the places, where people really don't have enough money to buy the tickets. In Edmond, they have their system is completely free. But, you know, we help subsidize the one that we have, and that's what that $2,100 is for.
Well, the reason I'm bringing this up is I drink coffee at McDonald's almost every morning, and I see the Embark bus drive through there. Everybody hops off, goes into McDonald's, and the bus comes back and picks them up and leaves. Is this what we're talking about?
Thank goodness for sales tax revenue.
Well, I think we're on the short end of the stick on that deal.
A lot of it is for medical reasons too, Mr. Shire. They go to Gilbert, and they go to the clinics around town too. I see a lot of them. They go to a lot
Well,
of clinics.
my mother-in-law, bless her sweetheart, used to use it 30 years ago in Oklahoma City.
Why
when
weren't
she
you
lived-
taking her?
When she lived and had to go to 15 miles to get groceries from Baptist home.
I'm glad you could.
I mean, I
Do that.
related to this, but I just couldn't relate to somebody jumping on the bus and going to McDonald's to pick up a, what do they call those, a biscuit, a biscuit.
Sausage
and-
biscuit.
McGriddle.
Sausage.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a
Or any
motion to
more
approve the
questions?
consent docket.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Please cast your votes. I'd like to move, obviously, we already discussed the 30-year service award, but I would like to move item 5 up to this point, the executive session. It is approval of the fiscal year 2019 collective bargaining agreement between the City of Bethany and IAFF Local 2085. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Please cast your votes. Again. Why are we moving it up? Multiple reasons. One of them being that Mrs. Love is here to discuss with us. Yeah, we're paying by the hour. No action was taken. We appreciate the IAFF's proposal, but we need to look at the numbers a bit closer, come back together so we can continue the discussions. Item 3 is a public hearing item. Consideration and possible approval of ordinance number 1959 pertaining to requirements, procedures, regulations, and permits for the installation of sidewalks. Item A is approval on reading by title only. Do I have a motion for approval on reading by title only?
So moved.
Please cast your votes. Do we have any presentation or explanation?
Good evening. This is a ordinance that we already have on the books. We are asking for a change in this ordinance to make it easier for citizens to put in sidewalks. The way the ordinance reads now is that a sidewalk is a public improvement, which means that they have to go through the engineer's office, turn in a set of engineer drawings and plans, and get approval. We're asking that you consider changing this to where it is a permit process, and that is a permit process, and that the person only has to go in and ask for a permit through the building inspector's office to put a sidewalk in. The sidewalk would still have to meet the city specifications. We're not changing anything as far as the sidewalks, how they're done, how they're constructed, any of the widths, that will all still stay the same. This is simply to change it to where it's not a public improvement, but a permit. I believe you all have what the application would look like at your seat, and that would be what we would use, and the person would come in, make application with the building inspector's office, and the building inspectors would be then responsible for going out and making sure the work was done and approving it and approving the permits.
Do we have a transfer of the asset to the city of Bethany like we do for public improvements of sewer lines, water lines, streets.
I don't believe so, not with sidewalks.
I think if
Maybe
it's
we
a
do.
sidewalk and it's built according to city specifications.
Right, yes,
We should dedicate that to the city of Bethany.
okay.
That would be one change that I would think we need to do in this.
Did we ever decide, the last I heard, we hadn't decided there was, your predecessor, of whether, what the width was even gonna be, 4 to 5 feet, and there was a lot of.
It should be on your application, it's 5 feet, minimum width, is what the specification is currently.
Amanda, if I may, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I don't see, and maybe you can explain this for me, if we have a district overlay, how does that play out with the current requested change to this ordinance?
If we did a district overlay, like we've been talking about doing in BD and A, whatever we put in as the specifications for the overlay would take precedence over this ordinance. So, even if we changed this ordinance and then we went in and wanted to get an overlay approved and change the sidewalk widths, or we've talked about different ideas with the sidewalk in that area, that would be what would take precedent over this.
So, for example, if you have a 4-foot wide sidewalk presently, and you have a resident in Ward 2 that wants to put in a new sidewalk, he would have to put in a 5-foot or a 4-foot?
Currently, without an overlay, he would have to put in a 5-foot.
And would that be inconsistent with the width of the previous sidewalks?
Probably in Ward 2, yes.
Would that be aesthetically pleasing, or would it be a variation of the existing sidewalk?
I'm not sure I can speak on aesthetically pleasing, but,
We probably should match whatever is there. I mean,
Correct.
don't you think, if we're going in and we're, you know, our construction is changing something, then they need to put it back like the city is supposed to. If we do something, we're required to put it back in the same manner that we took it out, at least that good, if not better. And so we would want to make sure that we were complying with, you know, whatever was there before. We do not want to modify. So if there's a 4-foot wide sidewalk there, we certainly don't want to put a 5-foot sidewalk in there. So our building inspectors are really, really good, and if they're overseeing this, which I know they will be because it's a permit application, then they will be making sure that everything is, you know, the continuity is still there. And, you know, what we do with the overlay after this fact will be something else that we decide on later, but it would be put back as is by this application.
That you're talking basically a non-conforming improvement.
I don't
It'd be
think,
the same.
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
Thank you for the explanation. I don't know if that's specifically addressed in the requested changes. I think that might be something to consider at this point in time. Because if you recall, we did a survey, and the primary, from what I remember, the primary issue was people just want the sidewalks connected. And so that would lead me to the conclusion, well, connected means, you know, if you have a 4-foot and then a gap, then you would want to put in a 4-foot sidewalk. And I think that's what's happening in Ward 2, because
Right.
thankfully, we've got some good new construction happening, and people are doing that now. And if that's a function of the permitting process, I think I could accept that. I just don't know if it's written down as a part of either the ordinance or the policy for the officer issuing or enforcing the permit.
We have an excellent city engineer who makes sure that we follow what our municipal codes and outlines are. I feel sure that he would make sure that all of this, you know, flows together. You know, plus, we understand what the council is trying to do and, you know, making our community better, and we're all committed to that as well. We can, if you'd like to table this tonight and let us go back and then add in the specificity, that's easy for us to do, and I would recommend that, Mayor.
I have one, if I could.
Yes.
This is where I was getting at, is we've been here before, and you still have to deal with the ADA issue. we have an ordinance that says 4 feet, and if it's 5 feet for ADA, we've given up any ADA money. You know, I mean, that kind of thing is where we ran into before. So we've been here before with a 4 foot and 5 foot, and then the ADA guidelines and everything, and I don't know the answer.
Well, if the applicant is paying for this, which he would be, this is an improvement, it's his property, then that is his money that he's spending on that. When the city comes in and we get ready to do something, then we have to comply with ADA so that we are able to get the grant funding, you know, for that. So this would not really affect that. It would just make sure that, as we've been saying, the continuity of our sidewalks is there and the connectivity, and the residents are really footing the bill for that in order to make their communities, you know, look good and be accessible. And then the city itself will do something with ADA as soon as we can.
I think tabling is a good idea, especially maybe even to include 4 or 5, whatever matches.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'd like to congratulate the staff on the clarity of the issue, because we've talked about this several different ways, and for the first time, I feel like this is probably the right thing to do under the circumstances. So I think you should be committed to that, and I'd make a motion that we table it to the next meeting with the request to make those revisions.
Second.
We
Please
can
cast your
definitely do
votes.
that.
I'd like a question.
Okay.
If the staff was going to look at this, I'd like for them to also address Mr. Shirley's question. Remember your question, Mr. Shirley?
Would you reiterate this? Oh, it's, what I was saying was these sidewalks, if you have a 4-foot sidewalk,
No, your question was, would it be dedicated to the city?
oh, dedicated to the city. I think it'll have to be dedicated to the city if it's on city easement.
Yeah, usually it is, you know, because if there's an improvement made and it is in the city easement or on the city property, it reverts to city ownership.
Since we are going to look at revisions, let's make certain that we make it clear that we want continuity rather than sticking to the 5 feet wide. If it's 4 feet on each side, make it 4, rather than assuming that a future engineer will understand what this council meant.
I have a motion, I have a second. Please cast your votes. Item 4 is consideration and possible approval of Terracon masonry vapor barrier testing at the Bethany Library. Do I have any questions or motion?
I make a motion, we pass this.
Do I have a second?
I have a question.
Question.
I'm wondering why this wasn't included in the original bid.
It was. This is a budgeted item for testing, and the reason that I'm recommending this to council is, if you remember, Terracon actually came in and did the testing on our library a month or 2 ago, and it failed, that test, and that was about an $18,000 test, and Shiloh failed the test, and so they've been required to go in and make changes to get the building, now the construction up to where it's supposed to be. And at this point, I thought we need to test every area of this since they failed in one. And this test is about $5,500, and it will be going in between the brick and the actual building where those two come together. There's a barrier, like a vapor barrier, and we need to make sure that when the water drips through, that it actually goes all the way down and out. And so this testing will be drilling some holes in the brick to make sure that it was constructed the way it should have been. And once we know if they pass, you know, then they don't have to go back and do it again. But if they fail, then we will know that they have to go back and do this. This just helps us be sure that the building that we've constructed is done the way that it's supposed to be.
Does our building contractor have to pay for this test if he fails?
He does. He has to pay for the retesting. Yes, sir. and the repairs.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 6 is call to the public. Do we have anybody tonight who'd like to address the council? Yes, sir. Please step to the microphone, state your name and address, and know that we cannot address any of your concerns.
I see Robert's not here, I knew I was coming. Charles Peck, 5706, Northwest 31st Parish. This will be quick. This is Bethany 4th of July celebration. Okay, good. The parade was great again. I couldn't ask for anything better. And one of the special the entries in that was the military Jeep and Harley Richardson. He's a World War II veteran, and I worked with him for about 40 years at Western Electric. So I seen that old Jeep he was in and everything. I think he was a former councilman.
Peter
Reed-
Plank.
He did, okay. And also at Eldon Line Park, the celebration was again wonderful. In Eldon Line Park, I worked with Eldon. He was a former mayor, and I worked with him for about 40 years at Western too. Good guy. And but anyway, the entertainment was outstanding. Fireworks again over the top. The food trucks worked out real great, except they didn't have an Indian taco truck, so I had to eat vegetables. But, you know, I forgive them. But suggestion, resume the car show, and I think that was planned. They used to have a hole-in-one golf. You may not remember that, but I think it was sponsored by Kiwanis. Or, you know, we might bring things like that back. Think of things that we can have instead of a business like, well, I'm saying forget the carnival, you know. We don't need a carnival. I can play catch with my grandsons with balls and footballs and everything and enjoy the family. But anyway, work on some volunteers to build a stage. Surely we've got, you know, donations and people that can build a stage, permanent stage out there. And once we have that, it's great. The entertainment was over the top again. Great. And I just want to thank Randy and Justin for their coordinating this. They didn't have a whole lot of help. Maybe next time it'll work out, or Justin quits, or Randy does something else. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I'd like for you to stick around here in a little bit because we have somebody that's actually going to address the Freedom Festival.
What?
And so I appreciate your input, and we'll be signing you up to join the committee before you leave tonight. Those are great suggestions. I have on my iPad an old version of the agenda, and I am notified that I've skipped an item. Item 5 is consideration of possible approval of new proposals for granting additional lease space at the 50th Street location and extending term of lease. And I know that beforehand we kind of discussed this, Arlita and I, and we have some questions, I know.
Yeah. This is totally new information to me, or I've slept since then, but I'm unfamiliar with this proposal, and I think we need more information. Do the rest of you remember it? So this is something new, I think, and it needs to be tabled and discussed.
I agree, it needs to be tabled and discussed.
I agree. Do I have a motion to table this item?
So moved.
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 7, we will skip, City Attorney's Report. Item 8, City Manager's Report.
I would actually like to give the majority of my time to Hank Moore. He is our Economic Development Director, and I've asked him to make a presentation tonight regarding our Freedom Fest. But I did want to mention that as we started out our council meeting tonight, these are some of the logos that have been sent to us that we're looking at as finalists. And all we did was simply say, here's what we want you to know about Bethany. We want you to keep "In God We Trust." We really like the Route 66 designation. Here are some colors that we like, and, various other things. And then we've got people from all over the country that have submitted, and as I said, these are kind of our finalists. So at this point, we're looking at them and, maybe saying, maybe we want the city of Bethany larger, or maybe we want to move this or that. So we've reached, that part in the contest. And the good news is that if we don't find one that we really like, we don't have to award. But that means they keep all of their designs too, and then we just start the process over again. So you see some of the work. I mean, it is excellent work. And to know that this is the caliber that you can get, for $800 is our prize. And, but yet we get all the layers of the logo, so we can pull different pieces out and use it for all kinds of things. There's a lot of versatility to it. So as I said, we haven't finished that yet, but that is something that I'm working on with Amanda and Danielle and our community development services. The other thing that I'm working on is our library and our park, and spending a lot of time on that. I'd like to introduce the council to Phil Stoll, who you already know, but I have moved him over into our community development department and put him in charge of community image and services. And he will be doing our park work and overseeing things like that. I've also got him working with our utilities for the water readers, meter readers and things like that. But I've also got his help in the park, working with Todd on that too. And so we're moving along. We did have to rearrange the park playground equipment because due to ADA issues, what we found with the original placement was there was like a 1 foot slope from the one end to the next. And so we had to shift it around, so that it was more level and move some things around. So now that we've done that, we've actually got, the way that it will be set. And lots of other things that I could talk to you about. I'm very excited about our organization. We are really evolving. There is so much energy. We have so much planning going on. Our committees that are made up of our volunteers are working alongside of us, and we are really moving ahead. And I just appreciate the council allowing us to do this. And I think by next summer, you're going to see a lot of huge changes in our community. And I'd like to recognize Hank, if you'll come to the mic and just give your report on the Freedom Fest, please.
Good evening. I'm Hank Moore, and I serve as your Economic Development Director. And the first week I came to Bethany, I was able to witness the community for the 4th of July Festival, their Freedom Festival, purely as an observer. My experience is related to tourism and big events. And this community has a rich history. It's had a Freedom Festival or a related type festival on the 4th of July for 60 years. There's not very many communities that have that community asset and that community pride potential that Bethany has. And I think that that's one of the jewels of this community, is that we have a historic park of 60 plus acres. You have a 60-year tradition of the Freedom Festival or some type of 4th of July celebration. And I think there's a great potential to do this a little bit differently and have a vision for 5 or 10-year plan. In reviewing the specifics, the 2 individuals who were the volunteer coordinators stepped up to the plate, and they did what they could do with what they had and what they understood. And that is just purely an objective. I have talked to both individuals. We had a meeting. We kind of recapped where things could be improved, where things fell flat. And I'll just go over some of those. But the goal is to do, like Mr. Peck said, is we want to build on the things that we do really good, and we want to overcome the obstacles. We want to address the challenges of making this event grow, and understand that part of the community pride is going out there and people talking about our community, Bethany, as having a tremendous 4th of July celebration. So that takes resources, it takes commitment, but it also takes leadership of the council, it takes vision, and it takes execution. Some of the observations that were problematic is that they were effectively too late in the planning stage to pull together all the details that go into an event of this size. You are performing an event for 20,000 people. There's a lot of logistics, and it can't just be by the seat of your pants, and it can't be haphazard. The event of this type has the momentum to carry forward. As I understand the history, is that the city pretty much funded it, executed it, staffed it, set it up, and tore it down. And that cost is prohibitive to carry on as far as the taxpayers' dollars. But that does not mean the event should go away. This past 2 years, the council took the lead in determining that we need to turn this over to volunteers and let the creative side and the participation of the community step in and carry this event forward. However, this event is very complex, it's very extensive, and it takes planning all year long. I have done festivals. My last big festival was 42,000 people over 3 nights, or 4 nights, with 27 artists and performers. So I have an understanding of traffic flow. I have an understanding of what it takes to set up an event. But it's more than that. It's more about there was an uncertainty of city management with the turnover, so there was a lack of true decision-making, being able to make decisions all year long towards the vision of what you're trying to go for. There was a vagueness of really what resources were going to be allocated, what was going to be available, what was assumed to be available, what needed to be recruited, and there was just a lot of uncertainty. And no one on either side, the city or the volunteers, really had a handle on what they needed to have done and when they needed to have it done. There's a distinctive timeline in pulling off an event for 20,000 people on an annual basis. The lack of understanding in planning and execution is like asking someone to be a firefighter and not train them. It takes professional planning or experiences to pull off an event safely, with accountability, and accomplish what is intended to meet the expectations of the community. The council lives and dies by the voter approval, but the community thrives on the cohesiveness of the leadership of an event of this caliber. And I believe that this is only one of the major components that Bethany has that will drive economic development. Part of the development is recruiting sponsorships and people to take a buy-in with their money into our event, and you're competing against dollars that everybody wants part of. If you wanted to have Devon or Chesapeake or Bank First, they have expectations of what they get for their money. Part of it is hospitality, part of it's access, part of it's marketing and advertising. They want that exposure to attach their name to a credible event. We did none of that. And as a result, it's hard to go in a month before an event and ask for $5,000 when they have not planned their finances in advance. Most corporations are on a fiscal year, so that submissions for sponsorship needs to be in September, not in March or April. It's too late. The budgets are set and the monies are allocated by the corporations. But that also takes networking, and that's where the council can come in. We need sources to go in and network and make some inroads with past sponsors and cultivate new sponsors. There was no targeted recruitment of volunteer groups. There was kind of an assumption that certain people would help with parking, and that size of an event of this size can't be a guess. It has to be planned. It has to be thought out, and there has to be commitment. And part of the commitment is buy-in that the city is going to host this event. There was a lot of rumors the first week I was here about, well, there's not going to be the fireworks, there's not going to be a car show, there's not going to be a carnival, and there was just a lot of uncertainty. And that doesn't happen when you have vision and leadership. It doesn't happen when you have marketing. It doesn't happen when you've got a consistent product that you're trying to deliver. And I don't mean to be sounding like I'm scolding the community, but you're looking at a revenue generation in expenses of $200,000 or $300,000 on a single day that we're accountable for. You know, it's not just the money spent on the fireworks. It's overtime for the police, overtime for the fire, overtime for Parks and Rec, but it's also missed opportunities to achieve something better. One of the other things that really came out was that there is no, in the marketing process, you need to be developing your artwork and your theme for next year today. You need to be going through the artwork process, just like we were doing with the seal, but it has to be advertising, marketing, what the theme is, so that when you go to September, you got that printed material to go into a meeting and ask for some money, some serious money. People are not going to write $5,000 and $10,000 checks or $1,000 checks just because they want to give it to you. You have to prove the value, you have to deliver the product. And the last is that there really was and continues to be a concern on what the cost allocations on the city, what they're going to provide financially, what they're going to provide staff-wise, what they're going to provide equipment-wise. And all this vagueness led to a lot of people going, well, I thought you were going to do it. Oh, I thought the city was going to do it. And an event of this size cannot succeed, but we can succeed, and we can address this. So I'm going to ask that the two people that coordinated this event as best they could with the resources that they had be recognized for their achievements, for continuing the 60th anniversary of this, and that we embrace what they did and build upon it without blame and without accusing and without the city council feeling like we did or didn't do something. We're all in this together, and we can all make this better together. I believe that a study session with the council, maybe in a month, after I've been able to pull together some more documents, that we sit down and make some decisions about the scope of the festival, what the upside is, what the downside is, where the commitment is for funding, where the commitment is for staff, where the commitment is from the college and the university, where the commitment is from maybe the bigger banks, and let's set something in course that we can follow and deliver and execute. And I think in a year, you're going to be amazed at the accomplishments that we can do and the outcome. We build on our successes, and we only stumble when we're held back by uncertainty or vagueness. This was an example. The event carried itself. We pulled it off, but we were lucky. And so I just ask that the council consider agreeing to a study session so we can flush out a lot of uncertainties and have a positive message moving forward. Any questions?
I look forward to your expertise that you bring. You and I have had multiple conversations over the last couple of weeks, so I'm on the inside track, I guess, really excited about what I know is going to be happening. I would also like to thank Justin Peck for stepping forward last year on July 5th and saying, my dad approached me and I need to chair this committee that you're talking about and make something happen. And so I really appreciate him doing that and taking this huge challenge on. I think we were very clear what the city would do and would not do, so I'm not sure where that fell, but believe me, it's very hot on July 4th, and I catch the last 2 years a lot of heat because of the decision that we've made to try to take this off the shoulders of the city staff, and some of the things because the city staff has been freed up to be able to do the things that we enjoy all the other days of the year as citizens of Bethany, that people have been seeing improving around here as a result of not having to spend so much time in Eldon Line Park. So we need a committee to come together. But I fully agree with you, Hank, that we need to have a study session or something to really hash out what needs to happen and who needs to do what, and really make this committee as successful as they possibly can be. So I, for one, am very excited about that. And if we had to get ugly before we got prettier, then so be it. And I'm done with the ugly part, quite honestly, so.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
we're acting as if Randy Lenstra had no idea what he was doing. Randy has been taking vacation from his job for I don't know how many years in order to go out and work at the park. He has lots of experience working on it. I think he was brought into this maybe in May and did what he could, but I certainly want to thank him for all the work he did. We as a council, a few years ago, because we could never get cost figures on what it was really costing the city of Bethany for this festival, and doesn't bring in revenues. It costs money from the taxpayers' dollars. And so we agreed that we wanted to go forward with the parade and go forward with the fireworks. And then that afternoon part, when a lot of city employees were out there walking around talking to each other because they had to be on duty, was a time that was really expensive for our taxpayers. And maybe they would rather have that spent on potholes or sidewalks or something that would be a little more permanent than one afternoon. So it was a conscious decision, and it's okay to talk about it some more, but I think our residents need to know that this is a very expensive endeavor, and we don't get revenues back for it, and it's not paid for by someone else. It comes out of our budget. And so I've had some phone calls, I'm sure you all have. The car show this year was because it was the Christian Car Club, and they just said, we're older, we don't want to do it anymore, and it was their decision. And the carnival was a different issue. So it's not that the city or the committee dropped the ball on those. There were other reasons involved, and people need to know that. So thank you for listening.
And I do know that there is another group that has stepped up for the car show for next year, so.
And the other part is that the decision to not do the carnival cost the city $8,700 in unplanned revenue that's not there, that was there last year. So again, the city took the brunt of that loss. But we don't make, I mean, we can't make the mistake of losing sight that the patriotic theme fits with the comp plan. It doesn't. The council has decided with the comp plan that they want to appeal to young families and middle-aged family. They want the sense of community. And part of that is delivering on this type of thing that, yes, it costs money, but so does the pool, so does maintaining the parks. That is part of the quality of life for the targeted families that the 2030 plan talks about. But it's the spirit of the community that's at risk here, because we can take pride and bring more people to the table and bring more assets and resources to this. And in the grand scheme of things, if another city said, if you put $40,000 pickup truck out there in the middle of the park and we had a raffle, how many people would show up? About 15,000 people probably to win a pickup truck for free. But we got something deeper than that, and that is, to build on, is the patriotic theme, Route 66 theme, the veterans theme. There's things that are just what families are about. And this Bethany is a family-oriented community, and we'll have to make the decisions. But I think the decisions need to be looked at the bigger picture of the 2030 plan, the vision of where it can go, and maybe become revenue neutral. But it takes a commitment to get to that point. I see it being revenue neutral, but you got to bring in other components to make it happen for that. And, whether it's cost sharing on the vendors, percentages on the vendors, bringing in 2 carnivals, just different things need to be available to be on the table rather than being stagnant. We need to be aggressive and progressive in the sense of looking forward, how to make it more dynamic, more fun. And yes, it's hot in the middle of the afternoon, but the parade is successful, the fireworks are successful, we just need to fill in the rest. Thank you. Any other questions?
I think that the ticket ended up being right at $30,000 that the city spent for this event this year.
Which breaks down to about $150 per resident, just to give you relatively an idea of what we're looking at.
Okay, thanks, Hank.
Yep.
Thank you.
Item 10 is council members' announcements, comments, and proposals. And tonight, let's start down by Vice Mayor Knapp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was not here for the last meeting. I have to say just a few words about that. I went to a wedding in Lake Tahoe, California, and my wife, after being a scout leader and camping 11 months out of the year for almost 10 years, my wife said that she would camp with me. And we camped our way there, and we stayed in Lake Tahoe and camped our way back. And to clarify, I've been asked a lot of times, it was not an RV, it was in a tent. And I'd just like to publicly thank my wife for agreeing to do that and going with me, and it was really her idea. But I had about the best vacation I've ever had. So moving from that, Janet, I just want to thank you for your work. Hank, you too, but really it's all of the staff. I have a great deal of optimism. I don't know if amen is out of order, but that's what I wanted to say from Hank, just you talking about what this Freedom Festival will be, with dedicated planning and some real focus on that. I just have a lot of optimism about the city right now. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shirey?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of items that I'd like to know something about. What are we going to open 35th Street back to two-way traffic? The concrete has been poured in and around the new library, but I would imagine it takes some time to cure, and we may need to look at that. But I think we need to get that street open as soon as possible.
I don't think it's going to be open for quite a while. We still have several more months because we're moving ground out here for the playground. And it's, in my meeting today, we're looking at possibly having the playground dedication in November. I mean, we're behind schedule for various reasons, so it's going to be November before it is completed. And so we still have a lot more dirt to push around and move, and as long as that's a construction area, it's better that we not open that for cars, vehicles to drive in and out.
And I think the request originally was because the trucks that were parked on the dirt had to move out, and the trucks are coming back and forth all of the time with construction. They'll be moving the library in. So there's still a lot of usage of that street just to park vehicles.
But I've noticed recently that there are fewer cars parked on the street, and the only thing that we have out there is a oversized garbage bin, which makes that street a little bit narrow. And I know the police would probably like to have it opened up so that they don't have to go in another direction.
I think they get in and out pretty well. I watch it, and there's still a lot of activity there. And again, vehicles going in and out, delivering things all the time. So it's just not going to be open for a while. And if we open it up, the city is going to have a liability for any vehicles that go in and out of there. Because, we can't always tell these guys that are delivering product out there, well, you need to drive safely, and you need to be aware of our residents, and you need to, we hope that they pay attention to that, but for right now, it's just not going to happen, Mr. Shirey. We still have too much activity going on there.
Okay, I saw something last week came to me on a splash pad. Can you fill me in a little bit on that?
We are working on getting a design ready for a splash pad to go in Garrison Park. The mayor has been working on that for quite a while, and we really haven't made any decisions on anything yet. It's just really looking into, how large of a splash pad could we get for, the price. Right now, probably 2,700 square feet of a splash pad is going to be about a $250,000 investment into, all the underground that goes with that. But at this point, we've not made any decisions on it. And hopefully we can get some really good bids too, so that it's not cost prohibitive to us.
Have we made a feasibility study on its usage?
Oh, I think you can look around everywhere and know that they're going to definitely be used. Yeah, splash pads get used everywhere. I mean, they're the wave of the future. They're certainly the present. And
I know that that is probably within 400 feet of the south boundary of the city of Bethany. And we're asking people to drive from 63rd Street to 19th Street just to use the pad.
I'm
Mm,
sure
yeah.
there'll be more than one, because whenever this one gets put in and everybody decides how much they like it, we're gonna have to look for a second location and maybe even a third.
I'd like to
Well, are we
address that.
talking $750,000 now?
Well, I mean, if I could address that, nothing's been done, it's just being talked about, Mr.
Well,
Shirey.
that's what I'm
But-
talking,
but
I mean,
the thing
that's all I
is-
said. I haven't said let's
I know, I'm
do
just
that.
saying, but that also, the last improvement in south of 23rd was probably 1950 when they put a new trash can there, in that area.
I believe that park was put in the 70s.
It was not put in the 70s, because when I was here in the 70s, it was
Well-
already there, and I was not allowed there.
I was doing an apartment house down there, and it was being put in at that
It
time.
was the 60s. Anyways, just a feasibility study.
It had
there's-
to be the late
there's-
60s.
There's more apartments down there and children that use, that travel, the rental units and apartments that have nothing to do there. It's just a study. It was
So,
looking
so,
at it.
so the apartment houses can fill all the swimming pools up and plant flowers in them.
Well,
Okay, I've got some more here.
as far as the splash pad, Mr. Shire, I really respect your opinion, and I want everybody's
Oh, I
opinion.
know you guys really do respect
I do.
my ability to try to rein in the cost that we have to do. And I want to put this city on a very financial basis before I leave here in 8-10 years.
Hey, we're holding you to that, too.
Okay. Also, how about our new garbage trucks? Are they on schedule?
It's probably gonna be November before we roll something out. Between September and November is what I'm hearing.
And I understand that there's going to be a whole new concept on pickup. Do we have our concept down? And
We are refining every detail for the concept before we roll it out, because when we get ready to do it, everybody needs to know how things are supposed to happen. So we will not roll anything out until we have, determined exactly how it needs to happen.
And I think this ought to be promulgated to the city of Bethany, our residents, of what the cost is going to be. And so that they can say, well, it's a good deal, or I'm just gonna pay it.
I think, haven't we already approved it? Didn't we? I
Yes,
think
we've
we're
already
past
approved
that,
it,
Mr.
so that's
Shirey.
kinda like letting the horse out and knocking the gate down and saying, come on, old buddy.
Well, I will say this, that, what my job now is, now that the council has approved the expenditures, I'm going to have to make sure that all the bills that we send out are actually bringing in all the money that we have to, I hate to say that, but we have to pay the bills too. And so we'll be assessing whether, our costs are in line with with the city's bills are.
That's what my final two items were,
There you
is
go.
we got to, we've gotta do something, because we have been losing sales tax, and we're bleeding sales tax. And we can't stand this much longer.
I'm doing everything I can, Mr. Shirey, and I'm bringing on board people who can help us with that as well. But I'm optimistic for the future, but I know exactly what you're saying, and it is a concern of mine, and we are addressing it.
Thank you very much. You have the floor, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Mr. Moore?
I don't know how to follow Mr. Shirey. I joined Jeff Knapp also, in being excited. He's optimistic. I think it's a great time to be in Bethany right now. I too traveled recently for several days, and I visited some cities that are not making changes. And I visited some cities that are making lots of changes and are experiencing tremendous growth. And it's an exciting time in Bethany, and it looks good. We're getting the right people in place. The staff is doing a great job. The new staff is doing a great job. Enthusiasm is contagious. It's catchy, and it will catch. And, Hank is very modest. I mean, he's in record books for what he's done in the past. He's extremely modest. He holds world records for what he's done. And I'm excited about that too. And the future looks very, very bright for Bethany. That's all I got.
Thank you. Mr. Todd?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got several items. Number one, for the city manager in Ward 1 at the corner of Wheeler and 23rd Street, we have a safety issue, I think. And I'd like for our inspectors to take a look at that, that you need.
Would you tell Amanda what that address is?
23rd and Wheeler. That thing's just waiting to fall on somebody's head. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, the next item is Mr. Shire, you brought up earlier about not being able to use fish. Well, welcome to my world, but I've got a solution for you. Mr. Berkeley was most kind to help me out. I had several questions, and I went to him, and he helped me, so you're my new hero, Berkeley.
But I must admit, Mr. Berkeley's plate is plenty full at the present time.
But he helped me answer my questions.
You were taking away from his primary duties. And I think that we should have a workup on fish.
The
And I don't mean
next
going to
item
let
is
go of our
on my
street.
agenda is we recently lost a hero of our city, Mr. Bill Sempner. His services were yesterday. He was a 20-year veteran of our our fire department, a lifelong resident of the city of Bethany. In my book, he was one of the good guys, and we lost him. His services were yesterday, and let's see, Sunday we lost Dana Waters. Some of you may not know, but another 25-plus year resident of City Bethany. Her services are tomorrow, and those are losses in my book anyway. May not be in yours, but my condolences to the family.
Thank you. Dr. Harris?
Thank you. I get excited about recycling, and Beth McAuliffe, who is the chair of our recycling committee, is here tonight and frequently comes to the meetings. But I did get a note from Janet that was forwarded from Ronnie Bacon, and it said that Public Works now has 2 roll-off containers from Waste Connection to be used for recycling for Bethany citizens who bring the items to the yard for disposal. Now, that's not my image of curbside recycling, but it's a big step. And so then the containers are picked up, and it costs $326 for each pickup. But there were some items on the bills tonight, and I'm happy to see money go into recycling rather than to the landfill. So I appreciate that move by Public Works. Because I live across the street, I see what goes on at the City Hall lawn. And if you've driven by on Wednesday night, you've seen upwards of 20 women out there doing yoga. I guess it's okay for men too. But anyhow, they're using our lawn. There have been other things planned for the lawn. And this weekend, on Friday night, July 20th, from 5 to 9 p.m., I guess the installation starts tomorrow. But there are swings that are going to be hung from the trees that are designed by an art department and the University of Science and Arts of Oklahoma. I think it's called in Chickasha. And they're bringing these swings. And I saw a mock-up of one today, and the back of the swing was stained glass. I mean, they're art projects. And they're going to hang them here, install them, and I think they're going to be here for a while. And then there will be music, live music here on Friday night. And it's all being sponsored by 36 Square and Java 39, I believe, in the city as well. So come on down to City Hall lawn and bring your blanket and sit on the ground and enjoy it all, or take a swing on an art piece.
Thank you. Mr. Palmer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As part of what I did, past couple of weeks, I had an opportunity to go to Veneta, Oklahoma, and I observed what they were doing related to Route 66. And I'm excited to think that we're going to get there. We're going to do that. And I think that that is a great attribute we have for the city of Bethany, tourism, and other cities have done that, and I'm looking forward to making some good progress on that. I would thank you, Hank, for your comments related to the 4th of July. I think that it's a great event that we can pursue and hopefully get to a point where it's automatic and we can go about having a good event. I know for a fact that my daughter absolutely enjoyed the parade and was passing out candy, and it was a great event. And you're absolutely right. This is a family-oriented community. And to this day, she's telling me that we have to do that again even more. So I will spend whatever I have to get candy for my daughter to pass out, because that's what Bethany's all about. We're all about family and patriotism. So I would also request that my last item related to the traffic committee, some kind of a meeting with city staff and the city manager so we can work out the relevant policies and procedures to get that back on track. So with that, Mr. Mayor, that's all I have today.
Thank you. I would like to also say that, I'm scribbling notes here, stuff I remembered I wanted to say. The Freedom Festival, I really enjoy working. I call Hank Chief, because I'm trying to treat him like my chief of staff, even though he's really not. Because he's a creative thinker, like I think I am, and a dreamer, but yet he has this ability to be able to, instead of telling me that's impossible, we can't do that, tries to figure out a way that we could possibly pull it off. And I'm enjoying that over the last few weeks, and I look forward to continuing that. But the Freedom Festival is one thing, and there are so many other things that we're throwing on the board to see and dream about that I'm so excited about. I've had some very good meetings here recently. We've with the community development, helping with the and kind of leading the way actually on the Route 66 revitalization efforts with the 4 cities. We're moving right along, and we are excited about where we are, and we're about to meet with ODOT and turn over our wish list and see where it goes from there. That will happen. Somehow, some way, we're going to watch this thing explode into something great. Had a meeting this morning about something that has been setting dormant, I guess, for a while. And I look around as the mayor, and I see things that other people were passionate about years ago that seem to have just kind of started to collect dust. And I look around and think, why is that not finished? Why are we not doing that? We need to honor somebody that had a passion of something. Let's finish this, and it's going to be great for their legacy, whether they're with us anymore or not. And it's definitely going to be great for the city of Bethany in the future. And so we had a meeting about the Blue Goose this morning. And so I'm excited about where we are with that. And one day, hopefully soon, the residents of Bethany and beyond will also be excited about it. Also, I had a impromptu lunch meeting today with a dear friend of mine, Scott Stearman, and discussions on what many of you remember that I brought to council as the Veterans Monument. And I'm really excited about that as well. We stomped on some ground and dreamed about locations and what could be, and I'm equally excited about that as well. And that's something that I'm going to ask that we begin to move forward on, and the council members will remember on that evening when I proposed that and we all looked at the concept. I asked that the council members in each ward would get together and pick a veteran that would sit on a committee that could kind of be the steering committee for this stuff, because I see, Veterans Day celebrations and other things that this committee could really be a part of and help us with. And so I just ask that you'd really get together and come up with those people and present them to me. I have my guy, Peter Plank, and so you can't have him, but pick somebody else, and let's do this. So also, as you were speaking about the library and the playground, I'm no expert on ribbon cuttings or anything like that, or libraries, but spent more time on the playground than I did the library actually growing up. But if the playground's finished in November, is that a good time to do a grand opening? Because it seems like it'd be kind of cold and it is an all-inclusive playground, and some of these kids would be in wheelchairs and stuff from the children's center. And I just wondered what the game plan was there for that.
I do not know the game plan. All I know is the construction side of it and the limitations that we have based on construction. And, it is going to be a cold time of the year. If we can move it along any faster, I will. But at this point, I don't know what I can do to kind of navigate that where it would happen faster, but I will do all that I can.
And just so you know, it will be the best inclusive playground anywhere around. I would believe not just the state of Oklahoma, but beyond. And so I'm really excited about that. And the roller slide that I heard have been designed, I'm really excited about going down that thing as well. And with that, I move to item number 11, new business. Do we have any new business that anyone wants to bring up tonight?
I'm Brad Barton. I live 6709 Northwest 37th Street. Just two streets, one street over. When they was building on the SNU, on the new wing, the city come out and put out signs, no parking at any time. I have two signs, one on each side of my house. One of them belongs, is in the garden of a Daffodil Hills. We need these signs picked up so we can have our parking back. I have a very large family, and if I can't park in the street in front of my house, I've got a problem. And
We actually, I spoke to a gentleman earlier, or a couple days ago, and I believe that in the traffic committee
I talked to
meeting
Mr.
this
Palmer
evening.
the other day and sent him the pictures of both signs.
Yeah, so I think they're discussing that, and we'll be addressing that for sure. So I appreciate you bringing
Okay,
that
and
to us.
the signs on Asbury, I know Mr. Palmer's got it listed down. Didn't they build that new parking lot across the street from this wing for the parking?
No, the First Baptist Church, that's their parking lot. I think they may have some sort of an agreement to allow people to park there, but it belongs to the First Baptist Church.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, Mr. Barton, we've addressed and we're discussing those issues in the traffic committee. We'll have a meeting in 2 weeks. You're formally invited, and between now and then, I'll commit to you that we'll meet and go over these issues in detail. I think I have a good idea as to where you are and what your concerns are.
Question I have, if them signs ain't taken down, I've already had a police officer come to my house ready to give a ticket and have my vehicle towed. I think until we have this talk on this, I think the sign should be covered up and let the, because Daffodil Hills makes their living off of parking on the streets right there on the corner, and it's a real financial problem to them. To me, it's I have to say who can come over and who can't, because can't park in the street. Is there some way we can do that till we get this resolved?
Let us look into that. Obviously, I don't even know how to work this phone right here, and I made a rule that we couldn't use our cell phones during council meetings, or I'd call Chief Phil Cole right now and see what we could do police-wise to deal with it. But let us look into that tonight and see what the possibility is. But again, we have a traffic committee that is looking into all aspects, but I know this was under discussion for tonight.
Yeah, because everybody my kids come over and they go, "Can I park here safely?" And they're scared of being ticketed and hauled off, so.
I understand. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Let me look into whether we can declare a moratorium on it for the time being until we make a decision on that.
With no more new, do we have any more new business? Okay. Item 12, we're adjourned until August 7th, 2018. I call to order the Bethany Public Works Authority. And for the record, those kind of things should probably come during call to the public. just clearly saying that. Item 1, item A and B is the consent docket. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 2 is new business. Do we have any new business? With no new business, I declare us adjourned until August 7th, 2018. Call to order the Bethany Hospital Trust. Item 1 is consent docket A and B. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Please cast your votes. Item 2 is new business. Do we have any new business? With no new business, we are adjourned until August 7th, 2018. I call to order the Bethany Development Authority. Item 1 is a consent docket A through C. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes. Item 2 is new business. Do we have any new business? With no new business, I declare us adjourned until August 7th, 2018, and with that, we are adjourned.